Hello everyone, my name is Carolina Gonzalez and today we'll be reviewing how to complete the Telehealth Session Verification form. First, we'll review the objective and procedure. Second, we will go through the process of how to fill out the form. And third, we'll go through the process of how to upload it into CentralReach. Okay, so let's begin by opening up that Word document your supervisor sent you. Okay, so this is a document your supervisor sent. The first page goes over objectives and procedure, and then the second page is the actual form that you'll be filling out. Okay? So let's start by reading the goal, so the objective. So the goal of this form is to follow SNN, telehealth, and insurance policies for intervention. This includes ABA Direct and your supervisor's direct supervision. Okay, so in order to provide telehealth services, insurance do require for us to follow certain guidelines. This form we'll be reviewing follows the guidelines to provide these services. Okay, so let's go with the first step for procedure. So use the consent form on a daily basis to complete one form per client and per person and per session. Who uses the form? This applies to the whole clinical team. This is the therapists, BCs, and BCBAs. When to use the form? So the form will be used at the beginning of each session. So this is prior to starting any program, right? Number 2, complete the form below by checking off each step. Thirdly, ask parents or caregivers the questions at the beginning of the session. So the template that you're going to be using is a fairly easy system to use. You'll just be checking it off. Okay. Number 3, once this session is completed, upload it into CentralReach and attach the form under the client's dashboard. And you're going to rename it based on the example provided. So you're going to add the client code name, and then you're going to call it the title of this form, right? And then you're going to put the date. For supervisors, if ABA Direct is in home, BCBAs and BCs are required to fill out this form at the beginning of their appointment. So if therapists are completing this form, what your supervisor will do is copy that form that you did. Okay, so this is required. This form is required for all sessions. Now, let's go into the actual form itself. So the template asks you to write the client code name. So here I wrote out my client. His name is Tess. And the date. Today's March 31st. Then you're going to write in the actual time of your appointment or the total duration. All right. If this changes, just make sure to adjust it. Then you're going to write in your actual name and your title. For example, you're a behavior consultant or behavior technician or a BCBA. Then you follow the steps for completing the actual procedure. For example, step number 1, it says identify the identity of the parents or caregivers. So we want to make sure that caregivers or parents are there in session. And you could start off by just saying, good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Gonzalez. How are you doing today? They say, fine, everything's well. Say, wonderful, right? You check off this box. If the family is, for example, the client is the one who actually answered the Zoom call, just make sure you get the family talking, so you could tell them, hey, go bring your mom or go bring your dad. So we want to make sure that we're going to ask these questions. So you're going to see later on, we're going to ask some further questions. Second step will be to identify your name and your title. So for example, my name is Carolina Gonzalez and I'm a behavior consultant. Okay, so you check that off. Once step number 2 is completed, you can move on to step number 3. So for step number 3 is an informed consent for every session. So for every session, we want to make sure we obtain consent to provide telehealth service, right? We give you guys an example. So for the example provided says, I want to obtain informed consent from you now and be able to deliver telehealth services today. Do I have consent from you to deliver services? right? You don't have to say this verbatim, but we do want to make sure we ask, do I have consent from you to deliver services today? They say yes, you could continue. If they say no or something else is going on, please make sure to reach out to your supervisor and scheduling. Afterwards, you can move on to step number 4. We are going to be asking location verification. So the first thing is you want to disclose where you're located. So disclose location or where you're hosting the appointment. So for example, you're in your office or you're in your room, right? Then you want to ask where they're located. So I wanted to verify the location of your services, of your service today. Are you at your home? They say yes, you could click yes. If they say no, click no. Or if it's somewhere else, like the grandmother's home, okay? So just make sure that if it isn't in a different place, you communicate with your supervisors that they're in a whole different setting, right? After you complete this, you could check this off. Then you can move on to step number 5. So at this point, you want to verify their technology or equipment for that they're going to be using for telehealth. So you ask them what technology are they going to be using. Are they using computer, iPad, or their phone? Eventually, you will know what they're using. So you could say something like, "Are you still using your computer for today?" Right? So you could just check it off. Is the equipment charged? Does it need to be plugged in? Yes or no? How's your reception? Eventually, you will get an understanding of how reception is. So if it was a little poor in the past, how's it doing today? How do you see it today? Is it good? Is it bad? Right? And it's something that your supervisors will also be checking in. Then you ask them if they have any technical issues. They say no, or if they say other, just write out any notes. Okay. So after you complete these 4 questions, you could check off this equipment question therapy. Okay, so now you can move on to step number 6. So at this point, you want to share expected outcomes of the session. So you could say something like, the programs that we will be addressing today during session are, and you could say the different programs that you'll be running. So Man for Access, Man for Escape, labeling items. We're going to ask them the different questions of the community, and we're going to address this parent goal. Right? So just make sure you talk to your supervisor, maybe pre-fill it before you actually ask these questions. Okay. So once you complete steps 1 through 6, you could start session. Now, at the end of your session, this is where it prompts you to complete, like if you have any questions and your session summary notes, okay? So if you have any questions, concerns, just make sure you write them down. We wanna make sure that we are addressing your questions, especially now that we have a whole new system going on play. Please communicate. And then write down any like summary notes that you have for that day, okay? So after all of this is completed, the next step will be to actually upload it into Central Reach. You would do this by first saving this file, right? And then let's give you guys a quick tip. So a quick tip would be to making a folder. So here I made a folder and it's under my client's code name test, and I have his form in here, okay? So this will keep you organized and ready to go. If you need support with this, please reach out to your supervision team. If not, just make sure you keep it in an organized manner. Okay? So now let's go into Central Reach. We're going to be showing you guys how to upload at this point. Okay. So you will start off by going into your client's dashboard. So just click dashboard. If you're using a phone, it's on the side. So click dashboard. Here, you could type in your client's name. So for example, I have my client. His name is Tess. So test client. So I did that by just typing in their full name, or you could do the first two letters of their first name, space, and first two letters of their last name. And then it's gonna give you a drop-down menu and you will click on the client. Do not press enter because it will send you somewhere else. You have to click on that client. Okay, so here we are in test and information. So in his dashboard, we're going to be adding files. So files added recently. So here I'm going to upload files. This is where you're going to want to upload it. Okay? So you press add. And notice here it asks you to your account or to someone else's account. If you clicked on the dashboard of the client, it should automatically pop up. If not, just type in the client's name here. You're going to override the name. And you're going to type in the client code name, test, and you're going to call this telehealth session verification, and then you put in the date of today. Okay, so today is 3/31/20. Okay, so at this point you could just drag and drop the file, or you could just select the file. So let's try selecting. Let's search for it, telehealth. Okay, there it is. So at this point, I have chosen my telehealth form, and I've also override the name, and I'm gonna begin to upload. So I'm going to upload at this point. And at this point, you have successfully uploaded, but before you actually close out, you want to make sure you save the file. So click save. Okay, so if you want to make sure that you did this accurately, you could go back into dashboard and do the search again. You're gonna do test client. There he is. You see, you have to click on the client and then you scroll down to files added. And notice that my file is successfully there. Test telehealth session verification, and it gives it the date as well. So at this point, you've successfully have added your verification form. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Please reach out if you guys have any questions or concerns. You guys have a wonderful day.